Event in harness racing starts at Harold Park on Friday night. Harold Park has been responsible as the stage for many of the great Interdominions. We saw Hondo Grattan earlier, and who could forget Caduceus? I was too young, but you would have gone that night. How many people they got there? Nearly about 50,000 when Caduceus won, didn't they?
Caduceus, I was 4 years old. They had 50,000 and a few more, and according to guys like Billy Whittaker and that who have seen them all, he said they were hanging from the trees, literally. Small
track, Harold Park, but a great place to have the Interdominion, and one of the leading bookmakers in New South Wales who will be fielding on the Interdominion is John Kennedy, who joins us. John, I won't ask you if you can remember Caduceus. What I will ask you, was there much betting done on Friday night on the Interdominion coming up this week?
There was, Bruce. I think the Interdominion's shaping well. There's been expressions of confidence from several stables, and on Friday night, Chokin came in for strong support. The Chris Gleeson horse, Madawi Prince, was well backed, but other horses have been well backed for the series. I think there are a lot of people thinking they're competitive.
I think in a way, Neil, it's, I mean this with due respect, because I love Jack Morris, but in a way it's good that he's not going to go in as a 2-to-1 on favourite, because this is a wide-open Interdominion.
Well, overall, this is the 17th consecutive Inter I've covered, and I can't recall one where there are so many question marks and there's just so many horses who can win. Something will emerge out of the series that at the moment it's 100-to-1 or more and make the final. It usually happens. This year there might be even 2 or 3 do that. I think it's so open and so much depends on barrier draws because of the tight track. And the track has improved remarkably since they banked the turns. It's much faster. I know that the club expects virtually every track record to be broken during the series because it is faster.
Well, what do we learn from last year when Jack Morris beat 3 horses that'll all be going around, Warrior Calm, Blossom Lady and Christopher Vance?
Well, I think that we mentioned last year that there was going to be a changing of the guard and that Christopher Vance and Blossom Lady wouldn't be there, yet they're racing as well now as they ever have. Warrior Khan this night was one of the biggest runs I've ever seen in a final. He was 3 wide from the 1200 and still managed to run second as a 4-year-old. He's on the way up now, Warrior Khan. Had 1 run. He resumed at Geelong on Thursday night. Was beaten and well beaten, but they ran a track record, and I know he'll be a lot fitter for the run. I think he's there. Blossom Lady, well, what they've done to the track is right down her alley because she's failed at Harold Park before, couldn't get around the turns. And she, of all the horses in the series, she's the one that you know will be better on final night than she is during the week, the first week.
What about the Miracle Mile, John? It looked to be a most disappointing race at the time, Chokin leading all the way and winning. Do you think that'll be a guide to the Interdominion?
Didn't prove a thing, I don't think, Bruce. They ran a very slow time. Chokin drew the one, it led. It didn't really prove a thing, Bruce. Jack Morris, as you know, came out just before the race, and it was absolute chaos out there that night. But as far as an Interdominion viewpoint is concerned, proved little.
It's very doubtful, Neil, that you'll see Chokin on the rails in front in any of the heats of the Interdominion, and a number of these horses are not involved in the Interdominion. A Master Musician's gone, and Sableyes, is it running?
Sableyes is going around, yeah. She's a very nice mare running second here. The only way we'll see Chokin on the fence is if he draws one in the final or in the random draw in the first heat. But I don't think we'll see him leading in a race.
John, after the Victoria Cup, which we're about to show, Chokin looked to be a superstar. What price would have you marked him up for the Interdominion?
I put him up at 5-2 at the very beginning, Bruce, and after the win there in the Victorian Cup, he came into 7-4, which is probably a bit short, but I think one of the points to be made here is the final in Sydney is non-preferential and he can draw anywhere. So perhaps 7-4 looked a bit short, but it may not have been, and I've got him back out to 5-2 now after his failure in the Hunter Cup.
Anyone take the 7-4 with you?
Small only, but there was significant interest in him on Friday night.
You've told us you thought at this stage that this horse was not unbeatable at Harold Park, obviously, but an absolute super horse.
He proved that night that he's the best horse in this part of the world at the moment, with Jack Morris missing because of his high speed, and he is tough. But the following week when he failed in the Hunter Cup, it just strengthened the theory that a few of us have that he doesn't back up, that he's a fresh horse because of his brilliance, and that's the query with him going into Sydney.
This is Blossom Lady bolting in, John, and a good run by Christopher Vance. Now, your feelings about these 2 horses?
Well, she's a veteran mare, Blossom Lady. She didn't handle Harold Park last time she was here, but they have changed the track, as we've said, and horses that weren't handling Harold Park are now handling it. Horses like Insacha, that used to knock his knee, well, he's getting round it quite nicely now, and she might do the same thing. She'll be strong through the series. 2,700 will suit her, the non-preferential draw will suit her. She'll be very competitive.
Christopher Vance?
I think past his best. I think if he draws well and gets a cold sit somewhere, then he may be able to come with a run, but I don't think he can work twice in a race, and I think he's got problems there.
Well, the voting system is as such, a scoring system, I should say. 14 points for a win, 11 for second, 9 for third, then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Consistency very important here over the 3 nights.
Yes, particularly now they're running 4 heats. And
rather than 5 because of the number of scratchings.
Yeah, and usually it's 3 heats, and they were thinking of running 5, didn't get enough. So with the 4 heats, you have to be virtually in the first 4 in every heat to get a spot in the final.
John, we'll run through a market now. You've got Chokin at 5 to 2. We had him at 9 to 4 marked up. Your feelings on the, just very briefly.
5 to 2 Chokin, same Blossom Lady, Bruce 5 to 1, Warrior Khan after his defeat out to 12s, and then 14s and 16s out. Madawi Prince well in the market at about 14s.
Actually, last night at Moonee Valley, John, there was still quite a deal of support for Warrior Khan. He went out to 12 to 1 and was back into 10, so there's still some confidence in the camp there.
I want to ask you about We Own a Warrior. John, I fancy it a bit. It's 16 to 1.
Yes, well, again, I think he's similar to Christopher Vance, a cold sit horse. I think if he's driven out of the barrier in any race, he never finishes his races off. If he can draw well in the final and take a sit on the rail somewhere, he has a devastating final sprint, and he will be very competitive if that's the case. But if he draws wide and has to go back to last, I think he's got problems.
OK, if you had to pick in one, Neil, who would you be going for? I know it's tough at this stage.
Warrior Khan, I think Gold Label's the roughie.
The Tasmanian champion. John, bookmakers, they're heartless people, we know that. Who would you like to pick?
Look, I'd say...
I didn't mean that, mate, by the way. Some of my best friends are bookies.
I'd say, look, I think the waters are very muddied here, but a straight-out selection, Blossom Lady. I think she'll go through the series. She'll be strong on final night. We've got queries with Chokin in that regard, and a number of other horses appear to be past their best.
John, thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you at Harold Park during the Interdominion. And
Look
Neil,
forward to it.
You'll be with us all the way through.
Yes, I'll be in Sydney next week and we'll go right to the series.
Good on you, mate. Coming up, motorsport after this.